I thank you so very much for those who prayed faithfully for us over the last week as we spent our time this year in Haiti. It was, and so many people ask when I get back, did you have a good trip? And there's no way to answer that. All that we can answer is that the Lord was faithful. The Lord works miracles. The Lord shows himself. Did we have a successful trip? Oh yes, in so many ways we did. And so I'm going to tell you a few things about the trip this morning. Dalton, if you'll pull up that first slide, please, of those people. And then I'll kind of give you a nod when we need to change the slides this morning. I don't have these in a form to where that they can know, because I don't know how long it's going to take me to talk about these things and to introduce you to these things. But I have kind of made this slide to give me some direction and some pattern, because to be honest, at this point in time, it all kind of is one muddy mess in my mind. I don't know which day was which. If you ask me what happened on any day except for Tuesday, I really won't be able to tell you. I can tell you events and how they happened, but I don't really know when they happened. They happened sometime between Tuesday and Sunday, and so I want to share with you some of the highlights, some of the things that God gave us opportunity as a church to do together. I want to share with you one of the most horrible and excruciating moments of my life, and I want you to see in that the Lord showed me a very special message and more of that. Graham, give me just that much more so I don't feel like I'm having to push just a little bit. I'm still not completely strong. What we have here is the team that went to Haiti on this trip. In the front and the middle is Linda Lauer, who is our Executive Director of Agape Christian Mission, and surrounding her are 4 nurses and a layman. Rosie's on the right, and Joyce, and I'm not going to name the other ones. I could, but probably right now I couldn't. Wrapping around them are 6 old ugly guys, and the one in the green shirt in the back wearing my necktie is Dr. Freddie Martin, and he, of course, was the lead in this. There's 2 pastors besides myself and a youth pastor, and the gentleman on the left is Ricky Estep, who is on the board of Agape Christian Mission and has been going back and forth to Haiti for several years now and was an integral part. I've had several people ask me about going on a medical missions trip, and if they're not medical, can they have something to do, or are they important? And I want you to know that in that group there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 medical and 7 non-medical. And every one of them had something to do at all times in the clinics and in the medical part of it. You've got to have somebody to count kills. Can you go 1, 2, 3, 4? You're qualified. Okay? Somebody has to write down the information as the people are being checked in and the nurses are taking their blood pressure and so forth. If you can write legibly, you're qualified, etc. Understand them? Well, we give translators to understand them. This is the team, and I wanted you to just kind of see who they are and to meet them. When we got to the airport this time, next slide please, we had this waiting on us, and we were very glad that it was. This is an old Bluebird school bus, and it was our transportation for the week, and it was a great blessing most of the time. They said in the email before, you're going to have an air-conditioned bus. Yeah, it was if you opened the windows. So it wasn't tremendously. But the most important thing on this vehicle, you can't see it, but on the left side, up above the window there, is an air horn. It is the most important thing on a vehicle in Haiti, because you just need a steering wheel to steer with and an air horn to blow at all times. At every corner, at every crossroad, if there's somebody in front of you, if there's somebody behind you, if there's somebody beside you, you're going to blow the horn. It blew at least 1,000 times before we got to Jacmel, and that was our transportation. It was a wonderful piece of transportation. Next slide shows some of the luggage that we were carrying. You will note in the background those trunks, those black trunks. There's 2 here on the left side. You'll see there's some on every one of these carts. We took 14 of those full of medications and medical supplies. That was our supply for the week, and we left every one of them but one. Some of Dr. Martin's tools we brought back in 1 tub. So we left 13 tubs of medications divided between 3 clinics that were able to use them, and they will have medication this year in those 3 clinics, probably that no other clinics in the whole nation of Haiti will have during this period of time, and as far as a balanced bit of medications and supplies. So that was, now this is the sign where we were going to have the clinics. The Agape Christian Ministry, and you hear George and I are talking about Bremen. It's the neighborhood that it's in. It's 3 or 4 acres. It's got a block wall around it, most of the way around it. The earthquake took a little bit out, and it's about halfway there. But most of it is surrounded by this wall, and the American church has gone in and built a church building that would be probably as wide as these 2 sections and about half again as long. It's quite a large building, and the way they seat, it will seat about 600 people in that building, and it is structured well for hurricanes and so forth. And so we wanted to have the ministry there because, and the next picture shows you that church structure. The main reason we wanted to have the clinics there was so that we could introduce the church to a part of the community that didn't know it was there. It is not on a road. It's back in a pasture about 3/4 of a mile off the road, and there's a path that takes you back to the compound. And so we wanted just to show that to the community and let them know where the church was. The next slide shows you how you get to the restrooms. You go to the brown cow, turn left, go to the black cow and turn right, and you've got the little building up back. You'll see here that some of the kids are carrying furniture. There was no furniture in the building whatsoever. The Haitians have built 3 little rooms on the back of the chapel, probably nurseries. We're not sure what they are, bathrooms eventually, probably. But they had partially finished those, and so we were going to use those for the clinic, 1 for the check-in, 1 for the pharmacy, 1 for the doctor's office. Being that there was no furniture in them, the neighbors around the compound started bringing their furniture, their kitchen tables and chairs, and before we knew it, we had all that we needed in those 3 rooms to do the medical clinics. One table that didn't quite make it, it was a little Formica top table, and as the boys were bringing it through the compound, they tripped and broke the legs off of it. And that is one of God's miracles that I'll tell you about in just a moment. The next slide shows us starting the setup. This is the triage area, or the check-in area, and we had the youth pastor also served in that area. You see that the walls, this is the outside wall of the church, and then they built the side walls, and there was tarps over all 3 of our places. The tarp over this was just large enough for this area, and it seemed to serve well. Go to the next slide. You'll see the doctor's office of the pharmacy. Does it look like CVS? That's the pharmacy. That's my sister-in-law, Joyce. There's a window on the left. There's a window on the right that you can't see. And she set her tubs up on these chairs. A table is basically where the camera is. And the 3 men sat behind that table and counted out the medications. She, of course, would bring them the bags of medicines and say, I need 40 of these. And they would then put them into bags for the patients. And so she served. That was in the middle area. And then on the other end, next slide, is the doctor's office. Aren't you impressed with the doctor's office? We were starting to get this set up, and you see just on the left, our door. It's a sheet. That is the door, and the ironic thing about the sheet, it actually became the table spread for the rest of the week, but it was the door that day, and it's snowmen. I thought that was interesting, that in Haiti we had a door that had snowmen on it. The people then gathered outside. Next slide. And this was what we found when we drove into the compound. And this crowd grew as the day went along. They were very anxious to see the doctor. They are not a patient people. They were not patient patients. They were impatient patients. And so our first challenge was to kind of get them just settled down a little bit. And we found that there was a gift, next slide, that really helped in this. It's called bubbles. Rosie got out a bottle of bubbles and started going around in the crowd blowing bubbles. Notice that the lady blowing bubbles is not a child. The adults were amazed at the bubbles, and they all wanted to learn how to blow bubbles. Little old men, women, and even the few children got to blow bubbles. And then Rosie tried to teach them to say bubble. Bubble is not a word in Creole. If it was, at least they didn't tell us what it meant. It might be a good thing. But they had a great time learning to blow bubbles and say the word bubbles. This next slide takes us into the pharmacy. And here I want to use this as an illustration of the starting of an event that was a major factor in our week, and again, one of the hardest moments of my life. Notice the position of the three men. You have Pastor, and Ricky. They are there to count the medications, and Joyce is ready to get them involved. About 1 o'clock, it started to rain profusely. The Haitians started clambering in under the tarps. The large tarp that went over this area and over the doctor's office started to fill up with water. Notice the construction of the wall behind Ricky. There's no corners connecting those walls. The wall on the other side was the same. The wall in the doctor's office on the outside wall was the same. The reason for that is they don't connect them with blocks like we do. They connect them with concrete pillars with steel in them, and they hadn't got that done yet. So what you've got are freestanding walls. About 1:15 along that area, I hear a tremendous noise. And I run out of the doctor's office around the corner, and my thinking was one of those tarps had split and dumped water on a bunch of people, and I was getting ready to see who I could laugh at because they'd gotten wet. When I rounded the corner into this room, that wall behind Ricky's head had fallen. Just a moment before, Joyce had told these three men to come out from behind that table, and they needed to get some of the water out of that tarp. And they started to try to get the water out of that tarp, and as they did, that wall fell across that table. As I rounded the corner, my sister-in-law is standing there and her arm is bleeding. The Haitian nurse had grabbed her and pulled her out from under that wall as it fell, and it fell down her left arm. As I saw her, she said, I'm okay. And being the good brother-in-law I am, I said, you come with me. And I took her to the doctor. Next slide. This is the doctor's office. As I took Joyce in to see Dr. Freddie, I was standing about where Minerva's standing, and Joyce was standing right next to where Freddie is now. And he started to check her arm, and he started to pick on her. He does that sometimes. And he said, Joyce, I didn't bring trauma equipment. He said, you just need to behave yourself. And he started to check her hand. And as he was checking her hand, the wall that you see straight behind us fell outward. The other wall fell from the window up, so it was about a 3-foot section of the wall. This one fell from the floor all the way up, from wall to wall. Outside that wall, at that time, it was jam-packed with Haitians trying to get out of the rain. Kids galore. And immediately, things went into chaos, as you could imagine. The Haitians had just experienced the earthquake all over again.